Hello and welcome to Blasters and Boomsticks. Today we're doing a game review of Resident Evil 8 and our main man, Mr. Grant. How do you
Hello
Bill?
there. Hello
You
there.
alright,
Hello
mate?
there. Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Dan? How are
Yeah, I'm
you?
alright, mate. I'm alright. You're our game guy, so I'm going to leave
I am.
this to you. You've been playing on Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village recently.
Yeah.
PS5?
Xbox Series
Xbox
X.
Series X. Xbox
X.
Series X.
Yes.
Lovely. So I'm going to go straight into it, mate.
Yep.
Basically, let the audience know that I know virtually nothing. The only experience I've had on Resident Evil was Resident Evil 3 for the PS1.
You probably had a better experience than the Resident Evil 3 the remake then last year. So,
So that's where I am. So, mate, what's it all about?
so Resident Evil. Interestingly, in the last two games of the main series, not the offshoots, has switched its perspective from third person to first person. That was done a little, well, probably with a lot of thought, that Resident Evil went from kind of survival horror, managing your inventory and terrified of what's around the corner, pausing it to have a coffee break and then shit one's pants, to Michael Bay, Zack Snyder having sex, creating a child, and letting it design and make the games. So we have this first person perspective that you then obviously, like your everyman character in a movie, you experience horror through them. So sometimes a little bit of a shell of a character.
Yeah.
So this one is a continuation from 7, and it stars the main character Ethan. His wife is shot dead in the opening scene. By Chris Redfield, who is the one of the original characters from Resident Evil, and
Yeah.
he's starred in several of the main games. He takes your baby and then he disappears. You chase after him, you get captured, and you wake up in a snowy, mysterious Eastern European village. So that's essentially
It's like
where we left.
a normal Friday then.
Yeah, The Hangover
Yeah.
Part 4 apparently was playing around with this plot.
Right. So is it important that you've played the others leading up to this, or can you go into this blind and still enjoy it?
I think you can go blind. I think you only need to have known anything about 7, but craftily enough, on the options menu of Village Resident Evil, because for some reason it's either Resident Evil 8, Village Resident Evil, or Resident Evil Village, and everywhere, even in the game, it's referred to as different. So on the options menu, you get an extras section, and it's called The Tragedy of Ethan Winters, and it gives you like a catch-up kind of story. And it's not just like the cinematics put together. It's almost like a police interview, and they get flash forwards and stuff. So you've got that part, and also the basic story is very, again, wife killed, baby stolen, go to this village, find out what's happening. So again, long time players will know Chris's, but it's not essential to know that. So no, I think you can just head into it, mate. So if like a copy landed down your chimney tonight and you decided like I'm going to stick this on,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be missing anything. There'd be no context really for you missing for you. You'd enjoy it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I think that's the one thing I worry about long running games and franchise games and stuff like that, is because I'm not a big gamer.
Yeah.
It's just that if something is recommended to me, then I want to be able to pick it up and just play on it without having to worry about a massive amount of exposition. And it's so it's good that you can sort of run away with it. And that's really cool. So you're playing it on the Xbox Series X.
Yes.
I'm obviously I haven't got the sort of the comparisons to PS4 or PS5. But are there any, to your knowledge, are there any exclusives that come with?
So far, there was nothing. I think Sony obviously, when the first PlayStation was about, Resident Evil was designed for that, and then it eventually years later went to other consoles. And I remember the GameCube getting Resident Evil 4 before anyone, which shocked the world. Luckily, I had a GameCube at the time, so for me, that was great. But I think the only thing that happens now is that Sony get the demos like a month before they're out, whereas Xbox gets like a timed 60-minute demo like a week before it's out. So that's essentially it. So there's nothing really to worry about. It's the first game I've played where I can think, yes, this does feel next gen. It is also on the PS4 and Xbox One, and apparently they've done a cracking job carrying it like backpedaling, I would say.
Yeah.
So backward engineering kind of thing.
Yeah.
Taking it from something rather than building something up for something. But yeah, it's supposed to be as engaging, so that's good.
Yeah. So how much have you played it? Have you finished it yet?
I've finished it now. Yeah.
Yes. So how many hours we're looking at?
I finished it in 10 hours. That doesn't account for retries or deaths and stuff. That was on standard. I think you'll finish it between 10 and 15 hours.
Yeah.
So you start off in a village, and there's typical video game design. You've got certain houses you can't get onto. Even in real life, we'd climb on the fucking roof. And essentially, you've got 4 lords in this place. You've got you hear about this mysterious Mother Miranda that you know nothing of, who's got your young baby Rose. You've got Lady Dimitrescu, which is the tall 8-foot lady that the internet's absolutely wet itself over.
Yeah.
You've got Heisenberg, who's the Johnny Depp kind of asshole speaking guy who feels a bit like Magneto. You've got Moreau, a fish kind of genetically engineered freak. And then you've got probably the most interesting character, who's Donna Beneviento, who you never see, but she's kind of a hallucinogenics expert, all dressed in black, and she's just mad puppeteer, very reclusive.
Yeah.
So in the game you only see the puppets moving and all the like little house that they've got inside, but actually it's her engineering it all, but you don't know that. So so you've got these 4. So what you do is you go like off into 4 directions eventually from the village to do this, but as you come back and you get more stuff, you open up more spaces. So the village acts as a hub. You can find animals, go hunting, kill them, take them to the merchant in the game, make specific meals to build your maximum life up, build your speed, dexterity, all that kind of thing. So you could probably finish the main game in about 8 hours, but I like to kind of hunt around everything. And the game itself, it's quite scary at first because it's hordes of werewolves essentially.
Yeah.
It's just, you've got certain set pieces that'll always play like it, but then you've got certain characters and enemies that can hunt you throughout the game, and it doesn't matter where you go. It's like the xenomorph from Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
If you stand still, you can hear it walking around looking for you.
Yeah.
And the AI will go, it's like really, what's the word? Like really intelligent, because if it keeps walking around and starts to notice that you're not there, it will start to think, they've programmed the AI. It's like a selective kind of memory.
Yeah.
So if it's walking a circle around it and you're not there, it's going to be like, right, okay. So it knows the answer because it's the AI, but it like feeds itself clues.
Right.
So it's like real life. It's kind of our brain working backwards. So it's like, well, it can't be here. Where's it got to be? Then it'll stop searching certain parts. And actually, on the harder difficulties, that gets really scary because it comes to those conclusions quickly.
Yeah.
So that's really good. It's really interesting setting. It's not as scary as 7. It's kind of a bit like 4. It's gone forward, so you've got that fear at first, but you've also got more action. But because you're limited on ammo and stuff, so it's nicer to play. It's easy to play.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because it's moved away, sort of, and obviously I'm not up to date with anything, but it's moved away from levels of Raccoon City and the whole sort of zombie slice survival horror. Do you feel it's better for it, or do you miss that? Do you mean, do you miss Wesker and all that sort of stuff?
Great question. That is a great question. Yeah, I 1 to 3 was brilliant, and they recently, as you know, did 2 remakes for 2 and 3. 3 was shocking because they cut a lot of it out and it felt like it was rushed. It felt like DLC, but going back there, it was brilliant. 4 was great, but if you take 4, 5, and 6, it went down the Michael Bay like quick smash A button to run away from a ball and jump through a window at the last minute. 2 actually. 7 did take it back to this quiet thing, and I'm surprised 8's gone so quickly on a bit of an upward curve, almost backwards, like the extreme of going, not quite jumping the shark again, but it's got to that point where spoilers from here on, but when you fight Heisenberg, he transforms and he's got a power of metal, so it looks like Robot Wars. So he's this kind of messed up human flesh kind of transformer, and you get to ride in something that Chris has made, so you feel like Ripley from the end of Aliens. So you feel like you're in like Robot Wars, the fucking Resident Evil version, and you look at it and you think, this is one step away from going back down that slope again. So yeah, again, I think it's took it in the right direction being first person, but I think it could slide back. And to answer your question, I fucking miss Wesker. I need a main character. I've had Ethan. He's great, but Ethan is Ash from the first Evil Dead.
Yeah,
he needed to go Ash like Evil Dead 2 now, and he really doesn't. So yeah.
So has it lived up to the hype, do you think? Because it was massively hyped. They've really sort of pushed this out. It's when people started realising it was werewolves and advertised, obviously I don't know the ins and outs, but you sort of got this sort of, like I said, the village hub and everything, it was sort of done in this creepy sort of almost old horror movie style, everything sort of the aesthetic was really appealing to me, especially as a fan of old horror and stuff like that. So did it live up to that hype?
That's a funny question, because I would say it as regarding gameplay, I feel it did. I felt that it was a little bit more fun shooting, aiming a weapon, probably a bit too actiony, but that whole thing, the village, the castle, everything, is literally the first 15% of the game. So they've done very well to hide it, and it does kind of feel a little bit like 4 distinct. So you get your first area, which is the castle, which is what you said, it's kind of like classic horror.
Yeah.
You get out of that and you go then, and again, more of the village opens up. So again, you keep that aesthetic. Then you move to the Beneviento like house, and that's where you lose your weapons, and it is very psychological horror, very Kubrick, very The Shining. You are unarmed, and there's an enemy in that, walking around in those dollhouses and finding stuff where I'm not lying. I had to pause the game. I was like, I don't know if I can carry on playing tonight. It's it's psychological properly. After that, you get to a little bit more action orientated. When you get to Heisenberg's factory, it feels like Blade Runner meets fucking Transformers meets everything until the end. So yeah, I think it lives up to the hype as a game, but I think the internet went so mad for the lady and her 3 daughters. I think people might be a bit like, hang on, where is she?
Yeah.
So, but I think from someone like you who's like, if you had the chance to play it, I think that aesthetic does still carry on over the course of the game. So I think it'd be pleasantly, like surprisingly pleasant for you to carry on and think, yeah, I do feel part of this kind of world.
Yeah. Now, before sort of that whole sort of recommendation and everything, what do you think, or where do you think they should go next with it? Do you think they should carry on with the way they're going, or do you think Resident Evil needs to return to its roots?
Great question. I will say spoilers again, even though people should know what we're doing. So 7 was the reboot. It was again, if you've seen it very quickly, you were Ethan, you'd never seen him before, your wife's been disappeared and then appeared on a tape years later, and it gave you an Evil Dead Texas Chainsaw Massacre, South Louisiana in a swamp kind of thing. And it's typical Resident Evil. As you get towards the end, you do feel like you're better equipped. You've got a gun, you've got so many more upgrades, so you're thinking, I can handle this. But it was all in kind of one location. This again, it expands it a little bit more. I do like that it's horror, but I am concerned that we're going to go back action again, and this is apparently a trilogy, this story,
right?
And just to answer your question now, at the end of the game you find your baby, and this Mother Miranda's she kind of explains a lot of why Umbrella existed, where they got the emblem from, and she predates all of it. She's obviously dispatched, and Ethan, turns out the twist is that the virus, the mold for short, that was part of the problem in number 7. Actually, you were killed at the beginning of number 7 by Jack, who was one of the main antagonists.
Right.
And in the games, and you might see clips and stuff of this, Ethan suffered so much damage. One of the first encounters in number 7, you lost your leg, and I put my controller down like, fucking hell, how am I supposed to do that? To realise it's carrying on, and the guy chucks your leg in a medical herb spray, and you spray it and you fix your leg back on. I just thought it was a bit of a kooky kind of bizarre thing that they was doing. And in this game, he loses the first werewolf attack. They literally rip off your left hand off, and throughout the game when you're reloading you can see it. You get your arms chopped off, you refix them. So much damage happens to him, where I think they kind of had to explain it, and it was explained that he was infected, and he's part of this mold, and he is eventually dying.
Yeah.
So when you save it, you save your daughter, you give it to Chris, and then you kind of decay and away, and it's quite sad actually. But it says the father's story is done.
Right.
I think we're going to see Rose's story, and I'm like worried that we're going to jump ahead of time, and all our characters are going to be old, and we're going to have like Saved by the Bell: The Next Generation. For me, I think we just need to rein it back a little bit, because Ethan was obviously, whatever it was, he wasn't a superhero, but he had regenerative powers in that he could take such a beating.
Yeah.
I think we've explored that as far as we can go. I think now we need to, in my opinion, don't mind Rose and stuff, we need to take it back to a Chris, a Jill, someone, Leon, someone that we care about, someone that we've done, and bring back Wesker. And I think I love all the new stuff. The werewolves are failed experiments and stuff, as typical Resident Evil will know. There's nothing supernatural, it's all explainable. It's a bit like the Raimi kind of enemies in Spider-Man, it's all scientifically explained. I think I'd like to see, especially after the recent releases of zombie films and Army of the Dead and stuff like that, it'd be lovely to see there's T-virus and zombies again in a first-person perspective.
Cool.
So
is it a recommendation for you? Is it?
I think it's a superb game. It really is. It's like a lot of Resident Evil games. Towards the end, you kind of feel so like any game. Like you play Skyrim, and at the beginning you're like, a chicken farts, and you're dead.
Yeah.
Towards the end of a game, specifically Resident Evil, you feel so powered up that although it's a challenge, the fear factor goes.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them. I don't like games where you don't have any weapons. Sections, yes, but not full games. I'd like to see that kind of city. I'd love to see maybe that whatever happens, you're not fighting somebody at the end. You are running through. Look at the technology now. You're actually trying to leave a city with burning cars, zombies everywhere, trying to get your way out. Classic escape the city kind of storyline. Yeah. That to me would be where I'd kind of love to see the different angle of it now. We're 10 games, 12 games in, like for the old kind of series, not just the mainline series. So I think that's what I'd like to do. And my recommendation is it's fantastic. It's just a little bit like me and you obviously give a shit about the stories and stuff, and that's why we're movie lovers. So from my perspective, that is also very important in a game now.
Yeah.
We see cinematics to spend so much money on mocap and stuff like that, but I think we just that extra bit of care is needed. But to leave it, I would say that to combat that, COVID did have a huge impact on their time frame to design and get this game out. So, again, hopefully the next one won't have that impact.
Yeah. But
go out and play it. Yeah, it's a great game. And for you, Dan, maybe it's a nice little entry into the series more, to the new kind of shit your pants, you're in the first person perspective kind of thing. So yeah, go out and play it, guys. It's worth your time.
Oh, brilliant, mate. Thanks for that. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and looking forward to hearing when Resident Evil 9 comes out. What you've got to say about that?
The fit. I think Resident Evil, the letters, the title for 7, they managed to put it in there to highlight the letters to make it look like a 7. So for Village, they did that with like the Roman numerals of 8. Can't wait to see what they're going to call 9 so they can do the same.
Resident Evil Twix.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got the Twix chasing you around a gym or wherever they're going to
Wesker's like a mad Willy Wonka type figure. Everything's done in a giant chocolate factory.
That probably is not as outlandish as where they might go. I'd just like to see them do a good retelling of the game for a movie. That's what I'd like more than anything.
Fantastic.
So brilliant.
Lovely, mate. Well, thanks very much. And let us know, guys, in the comments what you think. Who's played on it, who's completed it, what you're looking forward to next. Did you agree with Grant? Has he convinced you to buying it and playing it? Just drop us a comment, drop us a like, subscribe. We'll get some more of these done for you in the future. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining in. Thanks, Grant, for spending 10 hours of your life shitting yourself around a small village in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. It's good to have got Imodium.
Night, mate. See you later.
Take care.